Hello again everybody, and welcome to number 2 in our series of vocal workouts, whatever we want to call them. And this one is, am I being loud and clear? It's about vocal resonance and trying to find ways of getting more out of our voices without necessarily using more effort. Though singing can be effort, so don't expect it all to be just a walk in the park. If you are watching this video at some other time and have just uploaded it or gone to it from our website, there are some references to a couple of other clips of videos, and you'd need to pause and have a look at those. They're saved in the same folder as these modules of vocal coaching. But if you're following us at the appointed time live, then hopefully you will have a seamless experience through my bits of jabbering and leading on into some clips that I've found that illustrate things quite nicely, I think. So, vocal resonance then. We talked last time about good breathing and breath control, which are absolutely central to good singing. But the other thing we need is to get as much resonance and help to get the voice to ring and produce a good sound. If you think about most instruments, I mean the piano in front of me is a massive great box of usually quite nice quality wood, and even as I speak loudly, I just heard the piano ring when I did that. This probably doesn't come across to you, but it naturally helps the strings to vibrate and the sound to be much bigger. Think about violins, cellos, guitars. They've all got a box attached to them that helps to amplify what would otherwise be rather pathetic little string scrunchies. And most wind instruments have something that helps the sound to project out. And with singing with the human voice, we have actually a lot of built-in resonators within our structure, which is why we can be heard when we speak. We can raise our voices, we can make our voices louder or softer, but sometimes we don't necessarily engage those things quite as well as we might when we're singing, or we think, I've just got a small voice, that's all there is to it. But like most things, it can be developed and improved. So let's think first of all about those actual structures that we've got at our disposal. And we've got the larynx here, more pronounced on men, the Adam's apple, and that's got the vocal cords in it. And it's the vocal cords, opening, closing, vibrating, that actually produces any sound. If I don't engage the vocal cords, all I get is air passing in and out as I breathe, nothing engaged. As soon as I put some movement of the vocal cords into that, and you can hear the vibration there. You can feel that happening. So we've got the larynx with the vocal cords, and that does actually ride up and down. If you just swallow while you're feeling it, you feel the larynx shoot up and down, and the position of the larynx actually has a big impact on whether we're helping the voice or restricting the voice, and we'll take a little bit of time on that. We've then of course got the actual mouth, and that is quite a cavity in there. Dentist always says open wide, and there is quite a bit of cavity in there, and if I just open up, you can hear a big change of sound. I'm not breathing any harder or anything like that. It's just opening up a bit like the bell of a brass instrument or something of that sort. And we can increase that opening inside even when we need this front bit to be more closed. So, for example, when I ask you to hum, I always ask you to try and open up at the back, a bit like the almost about to yawn. As opposed to if I close that up, it makes quite a different effect on that, how resonant that hum is. We've also got the nose and sinuses, and where I have fairly blocked, especially my ear tubes are fairly permanently blocked these days. Sometimes that resonance isn't as good as it might be, and you notice when you've got a cold that it will make quite a difference to your speaking voice and your singing voice. We've also got, of course, the tongue in there, and where the tongue is makes quite a difference as well. We can drop it down to the floor of the mouth, bring it up, have it up behind the teeth. Quite a bit of difference that can make. So let's try something first of all where we just try to find where is our best resonance when we make some movements. What we're going to do is just a hum, and the first thing we're going to do is just move our jaw around and try and hear the difference and see where we think our voice is most resonant. So it might help you to see what I'm doing, but essentially I'm going to hum with my mouth closed but move my jaw up, down, sideways, in and out. And I can hear the sound changing as I do it. Should we try that once again? So I'm finding that it's better if I can drop my jaw a bit more than I perhaps do, or quite a bit more than I do when I'm talking. Let's try doing the same thing again and move our tongue around inside and see what difference that makes. Not so easy for you to see what my tongue's doing, but I'm putting it up to the roof of the mouth, down to the floor, to the sides, trying to pull it back towards my throat. Should we try that one once again? And you just start to feel the effect of that. And the other thing that we're going to try and do is to move that larynx a bit if we can, a bit up and a bit down. That's not quite so easy to engage with, but if you can try and see whether even on staying on that note you can move your larynx a bit. That's not so easy. You feel it moving more easily when you actually go up in pitch. I can feel it moving around quite a bit when I do that. And we'll probably make some reference to that later on. Final bit of our structure we're going to talk about at the moment is the soft palate. And I expect most of you know where it is and what it is, but if you put your tongue behind your teeth and then go backwards, you've got a hard bony bit, and then it goes up into the roof of your mouth, which is still hard and bony. And if you can get your tongue far enough back, it starts to come down again at the back and be a bit softer. Now, if your tongue can't get that far, you can gently with your finger. One description I saw at the moment with all the COVID said, make sure it's clean. I don't think it matters if you put your own dirty finger in your own mouth, but anyway, don't try it on anyone else, I suppose, is the key. Do it carefully. You can feel where it goes soft, but don't go too far, because that's when you start to get the gag reflex going and you start to choke yourself. But it's that soft bit at the back that starts to curve back down in, and its function is essentially to shut off the nose airway and the mouth airway, so that you don't choke or suck your breakfast up your nose or something. It's there at the back, and it will open and close and lift and drop to do that. The best way to feel it happening, apart from with your finger, is on an sound, like in singing. If we do I'm going to keep my tongue on the roof of my on the floor of my mouth, and I'm just going to do an and let it go. That you can feel flapping is the soft palate closing off the nose and opening it up again. And other sounds that do it is k, 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 and g, 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 g. That soft palate movement is getting those sounds going. If we do again and r and hold our noses, I think you'll see what's going on there. I'm losing the nasal sound because the air can't get out of my nose, and that's where it's being directed. So that is the soft palate, and we quite often say when we're singing to try and get the soft palate out of the way as much as possible. Ah, 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 ah. If I sort of close up the back of that throat, it's getting in the way of the sound, and there's a bit too much nasal quality in it. It's much more resonant. Let's just so we feel as if we're doing a bit of singing. Let's do and we'll go up the scale. Okay, let's try it a little bit faster and see if we can get that soft palate wiggling. Good. Right. I've now got for you a little video clip. It's called Singing in the MRI, because one of the things that is quite good these days is that people can actually see inside what is going on. In the past, when we try and describe what we're doing with singing, it's very hard to visualise it and to describe to people what's going on. But they've put singers into the MRI scanners, and it is actually now visible. So I'm going to stop for a few moments and let you watch. It's just over 4 minutes clip of singing in the MRI, and you'll hopefully be able to see all those bits that we've just been talking about actually in action. So back with you in a moment.
Singing in the MRI, singing in the MRI, singing in the MRI, singing in the MRI. Hi, my name's Tyler Ross. I'm a singer, voice teacher, and vocalist in New York City. And using the magic of MRI technology, I want to show you what it looks like inside my head and neck while I'm singing. But first, let me warm up on a lip trill. How about a raspberry? Weird, right? Want to see that on an ooh vowel? Ooh, ooh. Now, before I go any further, let's try to figure out what it is we're actually seeing here. Let's go back inside and see if we can identify some of the features of the vocal tract. Lips, tongue. This difficult-to-control piece of anatomy is called the velum or the soft palate, but you can think of it as the nose gate. It opens and closes, controlling the flow of air and sound up into the nasal cavity. In most people, the velum is opening and closing constantly when we speak and sing, and we're barely even aware of it. Down here, we have the larynx, which houses the vocal folds. Now let's see what happens inside the vocal tract when we sing with contrasting singing strategies. I'm going to sing the end of Nessun Dorma, Puccini's great aria. I'm going to sing it in 4 different vocal styles. The first will be in a light mix. The second, in a forward-facing Broadway sound. The third, in a back and down operatic sound. And the fourth, in a style that will make Puccini roll in his grave, in a rock style. All'alba vincerò, vincerò, vincerò. All'alba vincerò, vincerò, vincerò. All'alba vincerò, vincerò, vincerò. All'alba vincerò, vincerò, vincerò. What you're looking at here are comparative images of the same vowel being sung at the same moment in each vocal style. This is a frozen moment showing my vocal tract singing the E vowel on a high B flat. Now, for those of you who are interested, that's the E, as in vincero. Let's listen to it on a loop. Take a moment to see for yourself how the anatomical features of the vocal tract that we can see here align differently in each style. How is the tongue positioned differently? How about the velum? The mouth opening? How about the height of the larynx?
Right, well, I hope you like seeing inside that rather nice young man's vocal tract. Quite an interesting little adventure there. Now, let's turn our attentions to the actual vocal cords, because I suppose, well, they are the equivalent of the strings on a violin or whatever. They're actually what we use to produce our vocal sounds. And again, they can work efficiently or inefficiently, and I quite like listening to how people speak in their normal voices. And you think to yourself, they could use a few vocal therapy sessions. You hear other people who speak with quite a lot of what's called creak in the voice, and that can particularly happen when people get older, and it's actually called vocal creak. And that's essentially when the vocal cords are too constricted, and or not enough air going through them. Other people can have rather breathy voices, can't they? And it all sounds a little bit too excited for words, and they seem incapable of really engaging their vocal cords, and you're getting a lot of breath, and it's probably quite hard work. And I think there is actually a spectrum between the very tight constricted vocal creak end of things, this end, and way too breathy, where there's almost just no vocal sound and all breath, and it's quite a spectrum between the two. Let's just try engaging in that. I'm going to try and go from really creaky to really breathy. I'll actually try and do it on a note this time, I think. I don't know if you can hear that, so obviously you can hear the creak where everything is just too tight and constrained. And too breathy at the other end. Somewhere in between is my best and most resonant vocal sound. If I open it too relaxed in the chords, I'm getting a lot of breath. I don't know what we call the sound with our voices, but on the flute you talk about something called edge tone, and it makes a very big difference to the penetration of the sound. And I thought if I can probably demonstrate on the flute what I want us to try with our voices. It's not just about volume. If I keep a fairly open lips, and my lips on the flute are the equivalent of my vocal cords when singing, I get quite a pleasant, quite a rounded sound, but relatively gentle. If I need the same thing to resonate and push through, I compress the lips and get what we call edge tone. So without that, and with edge, it may come across to you as just louder, but it's actually not. I wasn't working any harder for the second one. I was simply putting a bit more compression, a bit more tension in, so that I got this slightly harder thing to it. And we need to try and get that with our voices as well, where we're trying to find the most sound for the least effort. And if you put a real lot of edge onto your voice and really condense the sound, in pop circles, theatre study circles, they often call it belting, and you get this really I can't live if living is without you, that really hard sound. I'm not going to make my fortune with that, am I? but we often do need that in our choral singing as well. Altos, I often ask you to sing some things that more strongly, or penetrate much more. And it's not necessarily about volume. It can be about sort of attitude and edge. I'm thinking of a bit in the Phantom of the Opera that we do, where I'm always asking the altos for more, because you do it in your lovely choral voices, and we get, Christine, you must have been dreaming, stories like this can't come true. All very nice, but not enough edge on it. Christine, you must have been dreaming, stories like this can come true. It's much firmer here in the vocal cords, not necessarily more effort or more breath. It's just, Christine, you must have been dreaming, Christine, you must have been dreaming. I hope you can hear the difference. It may just sound louder, but it's not. It's got some of this edge to it that comes from that control of our vocal cords. One of the things that can help with this aspect of the voice is learning a bit more about what's called voce di strega. The voice of the witch is quite literally what it means, and it was originally part of the well, it features a lot in proper vocal tuition, and people can spend years developing a different sound, and it's what enables singers to get across a full orchestra in what they do and what they learn. But it doesn't necessarily come naturally, but it's something that can be learned and improved. And we've got a lovely video clip where a chap called Justin demonstrates and explains what it's all about, and we can take a look at that one now.
Hey, singers! It's Justin Stoney, the founder of New York Vocal Coaching, joining you for a special Halloween episode of Quick Singing Tips. Today we're hanging out at Abracadabra NYC. Abracadabra NYC is the best place to find costumes, masks, props, and magic. Which leads us to our question for the day from Alfonso R. in Bogota, Colombia. Alfonso writes, Dear Justin, what is voce di strega? Ooh, that's a frighteningly good question, Alfonso. Voce di strega is a vocal term that means voice of the witch. How does that work? Well, voce di Justin sounds like this. Double, double, toil and trouble. But voce di strega sounds like this. Double, double, toil and trouble. Fire burn and cauldron bubble. In more contemporary vocal terminology, we might call this twang. Some other words you might hear are squillo, ring, a forward sound, singing into the mask, or my favorite, higher formant frequencies. Now, wait a minute, Justin, why would we ever want to do such a thing? Well, let's go technique trick-or-treating, and we'll see that voce di strega and twang have lots of treats. Voce di strega and twang help the voice to carry and project. They reduce the pressure on the vocal folds during belting and mix. They assist with compression and vocal fold closure. They balance out an overly dark voice. And they offer overall more sound for less overall effort. So that's lots of treats for sure. But what about the trick? Well, the trick is it doesn't sound all that great on its own. In fact, it's rare for us to want our final product to sound like voce di strega. But still, We need to use it as a training tool. If we do, then we can receive all of its splendiferous powers without risking a vocal life that's doomed to the dark arts. So, what goes into voce di strega? Well, there's several factors involved. First, the aryepiglottic sphincter. The aryepiglottic sphincter. What? The aryepiglottic sphincter. That's the top part of your larynx. When your epiglottis narrows, it creates a smaller chamber. Smaller chambers equal witchier sounds. Next, tongue position. The tongue will often move toward an I or A shape during voce di strega. This can really help singers who have a tongue that's pushing down against the larynx or retracting backwards. Finally, compression. The vocal folds take on a really clean, crisp, and efficient production when using voce di strega. They make great contact without requiring excessive amounts of breath pressure or volume. This increased efficiency results in a do less, get more kind of sound. So those are the primary factors involved in voce di strega and twang. Now, notice one thing that is not on this list, and that's nasal resonance. Remember, voce di strega and twang are not the same thing as nasal resonance. In other words, these brighter sounds are totally different from nasal sounds and nasal resonance. For more on that, be sure to revisit past episodes of Quick Singing Tips and Voice Lessons to the World. But for now,
here's something that I hope can be burned into your nightmares. Voce di strega is not nasal resonance. Twang is not nasal resonance. Bright formants are not nasal resonance. None of these things are nasal.
That's right. Voce di strega and twang are miles away from nasal resonance. That requires a subtle dropping of the soft palate. So as long as you and I are riding on the same broomstick, then I think we can joyfully continue with our Halloween pedagogical fun, because now it's time for you to try out a voce di strega exercise. Now, if you've been following this show, you know me. I could hit you with 1,000,000,001 vocal exercises and always have a little something left over in the candy basket. But today, I don't want to hit you with a gwan-an-an, a ying-ying-ying, or a fye-yay-yay. Today, I want you to take a song that you're struggling with and use the riches of the witches. That is, I want you to sing a song all the way through using voce di strega. It's gonna be weird, it's gonna be creepy, it's gonna be nasty, but it's gonna help. To give you an example, you're gonna dare to sing something like this. I'm wild again, beguiled again, a simpering, whimpering child again, bewitched, bothered, and bewildered am I. Instantly, you'll notice more resonance, more ease, more freedom, more silliness, more playfulness, more creativity. It'll be like the song you've been singing for years has had a spell cast on it. And then you go back to normal and you take away some of the twang. I'm wild again, beguiled again, a simpering, whimpering child again, bewitched, bothered, and bewildered am I. And everything's feeling more fun, more vibrant, more enchanted already. So give this a try with your own voice and with your own song, and let us know how it goes. We're expecting some magic.
Justin right at the end was at pains to explain that it's got nothing to do with nasal resonance, and that the use of the nose is quite separate from that particular technique and development. The nasal cavity and the nasal resonance is the last thing that we're going to consider today. because there are times when we need it and there are times when it's very important. And the particular song that we're going to have a look at is a French song, and the French language is a much more nasal language anyway than English. And people go oh, as mimicry. That is because there is a lot of nasal sound in French, and so we definitely need to be able to use it. So the nasal resonance needs to be there as well. If we try singing something very simple without nasal, the nose being able to be in it, we get a very curious effect. Let's try. If you go down to the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise. Try singing along with me, and we'll hold our noses this time. Are you ready? 1, 2. If you go down to the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise. There are lots of places in that need the nose, and if we've got the nose blocked off, you can hear that it just doesn't work in the same way. If you go down to the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise. If you go down to the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise. So we do need to be able to use it. So we are going to be looking at Mary at the Cradle, which is 135 in our collection. It's an arrangement of a French song by César Franck, who was a 19th century composer. I suppose if you've sung some Duruflé, César Franck music is somewhat in a similar style. It's a little bit Frenchified, but it's a lovely little two-part arrangement, this, that we can easily work on, even in these strange times, I think. It's going to need our resonance and our lovely open voices, but it's quite gentle. But it's in French. And so we have got Dans les langues blancs fraîchement cousues, la Vierge berçait son enfant Jésus. And I did look up French pronunciation for Jesus. Jesus. Again, if I try saying that with my nose blocked, Dans les langues blancs fraîchement cousues, la Vierge berçait son enfant Jésus. If when you hold your nose saying that, it doesn't sound very different, it's because you're not using your nose nearly enough. Let's just try the tune first of all. It goes like this. So because we want to get a bit of nasal sound into it, let's use no. No, 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 no. So remembering our breathing from last time and trying to get our nice open resonant sounds. Let's do that again. No, 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 no. And you'll notice you've got to open wider to get up high. No, 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 no. It almost becomes na, doesn't it, up there? Right, the underneath part is the same, really, but lower. No, 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 no. Should we do that once again? No, no. sopranos and tenors doing the upper one, and altos and basses doing the lower one. And put the two together. 1, 2. The end. Yeah. Now, we're getting the words in on that. We still want it nice and smooth, as we were trying to do last time. Dans les langues blanches fraîchement sous la Vierge bercée son enfant Jésus. A bit more breath there. La Vierge bercée son enfant Jésus. Oh, the underneath part. Dans ces langues blanches fraîchement sous la Vierge bercée son enfant Jésus. So put it together with the words. Here's your introduction. 1, 2, 3. It's nice, isn't it? Okay, the next bit over the page, the tune goes on. And the underneath part. So they are absolutely in thirds there. Should we try it to new? Lui gazouillait comme nid de mésange. Lui gazouillait comme nid de mésange. Oh, 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 oh. That's quite a nasal one, is it? Ange. And then the tune is the same again. Just that one note different at the end where we come back together. So the top one is Elle le bercer chantait tout bas ce que nous chantons à nos petits anges as we sing to our little angel. And the underneath part Elle le